ask me. There we go. So welcome. It's Thursday, October 13th, and we're going to be talking about corporate rentals, the corporate rental strategy. What is it? I know I've had a lot of people ask me what this kind of strategy is. It is a cash flow positive option for rental strategy in the Vancouver area. It can be used in other markets as well. We're going to focus on the Vancouver area though. So I'm going to get into it. I have a little slideshow for you just to kind of talk a little bit about what the corporate rental is and why it's pretty cool here in Vancouver. So as we know, right now, the market has shifted. And that's for a few reasons. But right now, we know that the market itself has seen a little bit of a dip in the Vancouver area. It's giving buyers a lot more power than they ever have before. As well, the ability to shop around, be able to put in offers, be able to actually fully evaluate a property. Whereas a year ago, we were bidding up, we were going in without any conditions. And it was like, hey, you either take this or you don't, because we're just going to move on to the next buyer. So we're in an environment right now where we saw some market price decrease and also a lot more inventory on the market. So the absorption rate of what's listed on the market versus what's being sold is definitely higher than what it was a year ago. So it's super exciting for buyers, for investors in particular. Yes, interest rates have gone up. We all know that. It's, the talk of the town, talk of the nation. We all know that the interest rates have gone up. How long is it going to be? Nobody has a crystal ball. But what we do know, that the evidence that we do have on the table right now is that prices are lower than what they were. There's more inventory that's on the market. My last few deals that I've done, I've been able to negotiate. So that in and of itself is super exciting, especially me being from Alberta. And that's what we do there. We negotiate. So I get pretty excited when I can do that and be able to really get some good deals right now. So I figure let's talk about this corporate rental strategy, because in this whole shift, there's also been a shift in the rental market. So the rental market, we've noticed, it's hard to find a property right now for a lot of renters, and the rental prices have gone up a lot. Because when I was looking at rental prices, what they were last year versus what they are now, they've gone up tremendously. So these are all key indicators that are green flags for a savvy investor. And one of the investment strategies that I'm super passionate about, been able to carve a niche out within the Vancouver area, and that's why we're all here, is corporate rentals. So they're executive monthly furnished rentals. And it differs from it being a short-term rental. So a short-term rental is going to be a rental that is focused on more short-term stays, less than 30 days. So midterm rental is going to be anything a minimum of 30 days. And there's a lot of advantages of this, which I'm going to get into. But just so that you kind of understand conceptually what kind of a short-term rental is, what a midterm rental is, what a long-term rental is. So in this workshop that we're going to be talking about for the next hour or so is going to be how to purchase one, how to manage it, what are the differences, what a corporate rental is, how to analyze the medium-term rental, and also how to continue having it run smoothly. So this is essentially midterm rental, corporate rental. We kind of use the term interchangeably. It's going to be more for the investment style. It's going to be more of a turnkey armchair investment. So it's something that, yes, there's going to be some upfront costs. However, once you get it running, it's an armchair investment. And what that means is that you can just sit back and you can watch your investment perform and get some good ROI, be able to get some good monthly cash flow, which is almost unheard of in the Vancouver area. As well, watch it appreciate over time. So this isn't something that's going to be a go in, fix it up, and then try to get out and make your money. This is an investment that you just need to be aware that there's going to be some upfront costs. I'm going to go through all of the numbers later, but it's something that you can really just watch it appreciate, and earn some positive cash flow every month that you can either reinvest into your asset, or you can just take the money if you want on a monthly basis. It's up to you what you want to do with it. So that's just kind of the gist of it. So monthly corporate furnished rentals, they came about because a lot of people were looking for something to stay mostly in the Vancouver area that are executives. Let's say for Amazon, let's say for Microsoft, other corporations, where they wanted to have more of a homey feel, not just staying either at an Airbnb where maybe that wallpaper that looks super cool for like the first weekend really kind of annoys you after a while. Or in a hotel where you're just like, I just want to have more of a home like feel for at least 1 month. I'm going to be here for 2 months. So this is a great opportunity for people who want to have that home feel, but without, needing to rent for a full year. As well for insurance claims. So we see it for, like I said, people in the corporate world, in the film world, and also for insurance claims. So if you have been displaced from your residency because of a fire, because of a flood, because of whatever has gone on with the building, you are going to be put up in another option. And this is where corporate rentals come into play. So what happens is the tenant who was a tenant at their property goes over to the executive rental. That tenant will pay the portion that they were paying for rent there. Then the insurance company picks up the rest of it. So there isn't going to be an adjustment within the price. So another really cool feature about this, which I'm going to get into the numbers later, is that there's a lineup of people who need this style. There's a demand for it. There's a huge demand for it. So it's good, comfort from the investor to know that this is going to be not only a lucrative model, but something that is going to have a good demand for it. It has a minimum 30 days. So why is this so important? In the Vancouver area, as we know, or may not know, because I do have some viewers in here that are not from Vancouver, and I've had to have this conversation plenty of time, is that Airbnbs, VRBOs, unless it's grandfathered in, it needs to be claimed as your primary residence. So if in this instance, if you want to have a nice, clean, straightforward investment, the corporate rental is phenomenal because you can get your financing in a clean way. You don't need to claim it as your primary residence. You can claim it as an investment property just from the hop. So you don't need to find these little loopholes like you do with Airbnbs if you want to have the model work in the downtown area. There are a lot of buildings that have gone from nightly rental allowability, like the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, to a 30-day. Keep in mind, that's not all. So it's not just, I can choose any place downtown. There's a lot of places that have gone to 3-month rentals, 6-month rentals, 1-year rental minimum, or no rentals at all. So it's up to your realtor to have access to all of these details, as well be on the ball with the AGM minutes to see if that is something in the foreseeable future of them shifting from it being, let's say it's a 30-day model right now, to it being a 3-month or a 6-month or a year. So you really need to be on it. Buildings that I choose are going to be buildings that are investor focused. So if I know, let's say, for example, there's one that we're going to be going through today as one of my examples, but I know that there's more of a 50% ownership, which are investors. So that gives me a lot of confidence that most likely they're not going to change that structure from being a 30-day to a 3 or 6 month, because most people that are owners within that building, they want to keep it as a 30-day model. So that gives me confidence. Obviously, there's always risk involved with any investment. It's not just, this is the be all end all, but it is a good strategy that works right now. It's fully serviced. It includes housekeeping as well. So like I said in the beginning, it's an armchair turnkey. So what that means, once you give your initial upfront cost, you can pass it along to the property manager, who will then maintain it, do the bookings, find the executives, and fill it, or the occupants in the investment. It's a B2B model, so it's a business, not a business to consumer, similar to Airbnb. So the way that it works, and I'll try to explain this as smoothly as possible, is that you will, as the investor, purchase the property. You will rent out your property to the property manager. They will be your tenant. The property manager will then rent it out to the corporation or the company and have an occupant in there. So that's key, actually, as an investor, because what this does is, as opposed to renting it out to a tenant, you rent it out to the property manager, who is technically the tenant, and they're not subletting it, but they're renting it out to an occupant. So because it's an occupant, the Landlord and Tenancy Act is different. I do have a page, which I'm going to show you later, which kind of summarizes the difference between an occupant and what a tenant would be. To just say it straight, they have way less power. And if you're an investor in Vancouver or British Columbia, for that matter, we know what rights a landlord has and what rights a tenant has. And we all know that the power lies currently with the tenants. It's also really cool because the company is going to be the one paying the property manager, who is your tenant. So it's pretty cool because, you don't really have to worry about whether or not you're going to get payment. The traditional method, when you go to your tenant, you're the one, okay, you got to pay. And then to try to get payment, if they don't want to pay and then try to get them out, you have to go through the whole system. That's a headache. So that whole headache is bypassed with this system. And it's streamlined, it's simple, it's effective. And if you want that armchair turnkey investment, this is fantastic for that. It allows for the investor to be hands-free and then also pay, for the mortgage, the insurance, condo fees, and the property taxes as well. So that's what you basically need to have for the upfront cost, which I'm going to go through when we get to the numbers in a little bit. So the next thing is going to be where. The location is very crucial for this investment, for it to really work. What I've really found is I've really been focusing on the downtown area for two reasons. One, the downtown market is on sale. The reason why I say that is because there's not a huge delta. There's not a huge price gap, price per square foot, from downtown market to outskirt areas, for example, Burnaby. So when I'm shopping the Burnaby market, I'm seeing price per square foot very similar. And during the pandemic, during COVID, we found that a lot of people, due to fear and also due to a lot of companies shutting down, migrated from the downtown core to outskirts areas. So we saw a huge influx in appreciation values for other areas like Burnaby, like Richmond. Heck, in Sunshine Coast, there was a 36% increase in 1 year for property values. So people were really wanting to get out of the downtown area. But as an investor, we like to look at those areas, because if we look at the longevity, if we look at the whole picture, the bigger picture, because this is just one little 2-3 years, right, that we've been dealing with this. But typically the delta price per square foot, there's a larger gap. So right now, what we're seeing is you can afford something in the downtown area that typically you wouldn't have been able to before. So I like to really capture that, take advantage of that. And number two, the second reason is that it's easy to rent out. Just to be blunt, it's a lot easier to rent out something that's going to be closer to all the major amenities, BC Place, Rogers, beaches, a lot of the corporations such as Microsoft, Amazon, and then also the film industry as well. So a lot of people find that they're going to be going to these areas a lot more than they would be to, let's say, Richmond or Surrey or Langley. So as an investor, if you want to have that vacancy as low as possible, meaning that you're going to have it filled, rented out to make sure that you're going to be in a cash flow positive and you're not going to be bleeding, that we focus on those areas. So I really focus on the downtown area. Can we observe other areas? For sure. However, here's another thing is once we start going in the outskirt areas, more likely these are going to be for families. They're going to be looking for to be around schools that the kids need to be around, parks, more family areas. So once we get into family areas, we're going to be going from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom. So it really just depends on what your strategy, your comfort level. That's something that I can talk with you. We can assess the pros and the cons to each strategy. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy at all. But another thing that I do know is property managers, if they cannot rent out a 2-bedroom, that they'll flip it into a 1, meaning they can rent. Let's say we're getting down to the final hour, we still haven't rented out your 2-bedroom. What property managers can and will do for sake of renting out your property is they'll say, okay, we'll give you a 2-bedroom for the price of a 1-bedroom, because they need to fill it and you want to make sure that this is filled. So that is something just to be mindful of or aware of as well. I would rather see you get 2 1-bedrooms and see it perform and make sure that we get you these performing and that you do get them filled, rather than risk getting that 2-bedroom and then potentially not having it rented or renting it, but as a 1-bedroom price. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of that I really like to focus on is downtown 1-bedrooms. And there's key buildings that I know perform really well over the years and key locations. So now that I've had quite a large sample set for this particular strategy, I'm really confident with the buildings that I have on my list, and I do keep active and ongoing. Okay, costs. Let's get down to the numbers, shall we? So the cost of this is going to be, there's upfront costs as well. I'm going to open up the property analyzer, and so we can actually run the numbers on an example after I'm finished talking about all the costs, so that you can actually visually see it and see what the cash flow looks like. So $120 a month. With this particular model, it's interesting because you actually need a landline. It's one of the requirements for having an occupant in there. The way that I think about it is it's going to be more of a hotel style of a property. So to kind of riff off of that and requirements that I look for above and beyond the specific documents that you need and the location is that it needs to have a landline. It also needs to have a specific layout. It doesn't matter what floor, which is interesting. When we're looking as a realtor, when we're talking about what your exit strategy is, that's when you want to go and sell your property eventually. Then we do observe things like, okay, how long did you want to hold on to this property? What are your goals? Because if something like you wanted to sell it and you wanted it to have a nice view, either like you wanted to move into it later or for your exit strategy, then that is something to take into account. But when we're specifically talking about this strategy, it's actually not something that you're going to get more money per month. You're not going to be making more with your rent if you were on like the 3rd floor versus like the 23rd floor. So that's an interesting concept, but it does need to have a specific layout, open concept. It also needs to have space for a den. And because a lot of people are working from home these days, it needs to have that space fulfilled as well, depending on the location. But in most instances, 95% of the time, you need to also have outdoor space. Even if it's a Juliet balcony, a place that you can open up and just have some air to be able to have some outdoor space is desirable for this model. And then also you need to have cable, super high speed internet, and you can also write that off for taxes. So although you are paying that $120 a month, you can write that off for your taxes as well. The numbers right now, keep in mind, there is a high season, there is a low season. It's not as dramatic as it is for your VRBOs and Airbnbs. So obviously for your short-term rentals, you really want to capitalize on that like May to September. Whereas with this strategy, you're not going to see a massive influx. You're going to see a slight increase and a slight decrease, but it's not to the point where you're going to have it sitting vacant for a long time. And that's just because of who the occupant is. That's who's going to be your consumer. So for a 1 bedroom, and these numbers are downtown because that's really what I like to focus on. If you wanted to go to the outskirts, I can totally help you with that as well. I have helped people all the way out to Surrey, for example. But when we're focusing on the downtown core, 1 bedroom, 5 to 6K is what we're seeing right now. If you get a really high end, really high end luxury, like let's say a loft that's only technically a 1 bedroom, we're probably going to see a bit more than that. For a 2 bedroom, it's going to be between that 6 to 8,000. Once again, it really depends on how high end of furnishing that it is. And the biggest thing here is that it is a really nice high end luxury style furnished suite. So we're not getting like cheap of the cheap. You want to have something where you walk in, it has a beautiful curb appeal. Maybe it has like a concierge. It has a really nice entrance lobby. I like to look at properties that are, within that 20-year span. After 2010, they have a Form J, which is attached to it, which is one of the special documents that allows for this, that will be indefinitely. Properties that are prior to that, like I said, I do like to look for what kind of an ownership is in there. Is it mostly investors? If so, then I feel confident with that. There is also parking, which we need, and that's an extra 150. So after the 30%, which I'll run through the numbers in a bit, this will make a little bit more sense. That's what you would get. So the other upfront cost is going to be furnishing it. This is a furnished corporate monthly rental. So it needs to be furnished, not with the cheap stuff. There's some stuff that you can kind of get a little bit cheaper, but you want to have that high quality furnishings. Reason being, one, we want to be able to rent it out to high-end executives. Two, you want it to last. So you don't want to get something that you're putting in all of this cost in the beginning. You know that this is going to be a long-term buy and hold style investment. So it's not something that you're looking to just flip over in a year or two. I would say minimum 5 years is what, as an investor, you would want to invest into this, and potentially longer. I personally, I would hold on to these because they're really in beautiful locations. And as we know in real estate, what's the number one rule? Location, location, location. So I really love to target beautiful locations, beautiful buildings, furnish it nicely, and that protects your asset as well. You're going to have people in there that are tied to their job. They're going to take care of your property because, well, their job's on the line. And also, they're going to be executives. This isn't going to be, you're not a slumlord, okay? We're better than that. We're going to get some really nice, beautiful properties at an attractive price that is going to last a long time, and you're not going to have that stress or headache of, are they going to be taking care of it? It's also really cool that the property manager has, because they're an occupant, they're the ones who are going to be picking up if there's any damages to it that are from the occupant. So that's also a really cool benefit, that you don't have that headache, you don't have the stress that you would, like, I don't know if any of you guys have properties out there. I know myself personally, I have a portfolio, and it is the stress that I have. My portfolio is mostly in Alberta, and I'm like, are they going to pay rent? Is my furnace working? Are they maintaining it? Are they having a party? Like, there's a lot of worry and stress that can come with the more traditional methods of a buy and hold long-term tenancy agreement. So with this, it bypasses a lot and really puts the worry aside and at ease. While the occupant is in there, the property manager furnishes it in the beginning, and then also does all the housekeeping. So if there is a move in and move out cost, which a lot of buildings have turned to, really, it's just a money grab, especially for this model, because you don't need to book the elevator. So there shouldn't be a move in, move out cost. However, in some instances, some of the buildings have gone towards that, and the property manager covers that 50-50. I know during COVID, there was also a deep clean when they had a turnaround. I'm not sure if that's still something that they're doing now that COVID is kind of phasing itself out, but that was something just to be aware of that they did have. However, the regular maintenance of the linens, the towels, that's all done by the property manager. So it's just a nice simplified version. So sample deals. I have one right here. So this is, well, actually, I wanted to, just show you this one that we have. So this is at the Genesis building. I know that I've already had the property manager's approval on this one specifically because she came in there and had a look at it. And this one is over on Howe Street. So right smack dab downtown. It's only a 5-minute walk from my place. I'm in Yale Town. So it's a fantastic area. List price, $584. Monthly cash flow is actually, it's 700 on this one. And it is going to be, 1999 building. It has a beautiful curb appeal. Actually, when I walked into it, it was just stunning. It also has a concierge. It has an Olympic sized swimming pool and a gym and also a rec area. It has 600 square feet for anyone who is familiar with downtown Vancouver living. That's a lot of space for a 1-bedroom. Okay. A lot of them are like 400 to 500 is what we're seeing on average. So to have over 600 square feet, that's a lot for downtown. It has 1 underground stall, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and then also a place for a den. So purchase price, let's say, because right now we can negotiate. So I'm just doing it on what the market value is right now. But in a lot of instances, we can negotiate down. So I'm being conservative with my numbers as well, so that it gives you, like I said, a very conservative approach. And I can send you this. I have all the links to these pro formas. Do I need to zoom it in a little bit? Is that better? Perfect. Okay, so 584 is the purchase price. So the down payment, 20%. So if you're an investor, if you're using this as your primary, then that would be a different number. But as this is an investment, as an investor, you need to put down 20%. Legal, 1,500. Inspection, if you choose. In most instances for my condos, I would say most of my clients and investors don't get an inspection. However, if it's a little bit of an older building, I would recommend it entirely. But keep in mind, a lot of the newer buildings, they still have warranty up to 10 years. So we can discuss that as we go. Contingency fund. So it's just shy of 6K. That's a fund that you're going to have in there in case anything was to break, you need to get anything done to the property. It's just good to have that on hand. Land transfer tax. So for those of you who are in here and are not from BC, we have we have so many taxes here, but one of the lovely taxes is going to be property transfer tax. So on this unit, it's going to be 9,680. And then to furnish it, so on a 1-bedroom, 7,000. On a 2-bedroom, it's around 12,000 to get it done nicely, top to bottom, including the linens and everything that you need. So a bit more off the hop for your initial investment, but like I said, it's totally worth it because at least this way you can just have it, watch it appreciate over time. And so for this one, I was really conservative and I put 5,900. They're going for about 6,000 a month right now. I know that sounds crazy high, but that's what they're performing at. And we do have a guest in the house, which I'm going to be talking with after this in about 10-15 minutes, and kind of talk about her personal experience as well. $150 for parking. So your mortgage on that. So I put the mortgage at 5.45. That's what it's at right now currently. A little bit on the high side, but keep in mind that's not going to be there forever. So we can take advantage of the low prices right now, and then eventually once the rates and start to even out a little bit more, that will fluctuate and change. The tax on this, so this is taken directly from the listing itself. It's $1,597 annually, so that's $133 broken down monthly. Insurance as well, 150, utilities 50, and then internet and cable 120. Condo fees 44 on this one. That's quite typical for Vancouver. We usually see between anywhere from around 350 to about 550 is what we're looking at for a 1-bedroom, depending on the property. Management. So this management is 30%. That is a special negotiated price. A lot of the other property managers for this specific strategy are about 50 or 40%. So if you work with Mogul, we have negotiated a special discount at 30%. And so that really is what helps make this a more cash flow positive uh, investment for you. So vacancy, I put at 4%, and then repairs 2%, because it's a condo, and a lot of instances it's going to be newer, so we don't really need to put a higher amount. It depends if we're going single family um, or duplex, then we'd probably put that a little bit higher. So for this is strict profit. This is because we also do have our reserve fund. The reserve fund contribution we put aside if you wanted to save in a pool to either reinvest into your asset or pay down your mortgage, or you can just have it as your more capital, more profit every month. So strict cash flow, just shy of 300 bucks. And then the reserve fund contribution. So together that is 660 per month. So it's a cash flow positive. I mean, just to get anything cash flow positive, a lot of investors I talk to, they're like, okay, I have a budget of about, 2,000 extra if I needed to spend on the investment. Because as we know, we're really banking on those appreciation values in Vancouver as we've seen it appreciate over time. So I was really conservative within my approach. And so for over a 5-year or your ROI or your return, because I did put market growth at 5%, that's very conservative, because in most instances, most of them are going to be around 10%. So I decided 5% given the current market conditions that we're in, and to be ultra conservative for my investors. So yeah, the total percentage for your ROI when you're looking at the mortgage pay down, 35K. It's over 5 years. Once again, cash flow 45K, and then market growth 161,348. So your total ROI, your return on your investment, is 171%. So that's not bad. Like I said, that was really conservative. I usually like to play with the numbers on a more realistic version, and kind of like on the high side, on the low side, and then something more likely is going to be, in between, right? So this is the conservative approach. This is what I've provided for you guys today. So yeah, so that's kind of a little bit more about that one. And then another one I have here, which I just did up today, is this other one on how. So I have it here. On Homer Street. So this one's the Pinnacle, and I absolutely love this area. It's just across the street from where I live. So it's in Yaletown, and I love Yaletown. It performs really well. A lot of my investors who have invested in here just love it, because it's cool to have a property and to diversify your portfolio into cool areas like downtown, Cole Harbor, Yaletown, because then you have just this super sexy portfolio of all these really beautiful properties that are all over in like ideal locations. So this one's really nice. It's called the Pinnacle. It is 1998 build, and this one's listed for $649. This one just came out, I believe, last week, and has just a really beautiful curb appeal on the inside. I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. So this is the entrance. And then when you walk in, so this is the thing, you need to make sure that it has the open concept, which this one has, outdoor space, which it also has here, and then space for a den. This one's on the 3rd floor. So like I said, although it's not on one of the higher floors, it'll perform. It has relatively new flooring, so that's good. We're not really looking at the furniture. Keep in mind, guys, we're going to be redoing the furniture anyways. And then it also has like the quartz countertops. It has just a nice curb appeal. It has in-suite laundry, which is also something necessary for this one. And then the other thing actually is that for the bedrooms, we need to make sure that the bedroom can hold a queen size bed, 2 nightstands, and the door can fully open and shut. I know that sounds like something simple, but in Vancouver, it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you can only fit a double and it doesn't open and shut your door. So that's something that's really important for this strategy, is that we can open and shut the door with a queen size bed. And yeah, a little bit of an outdoor space. You can see some foliage, and then it has a nice bathroom there too. Nice pool and hot tub area. So yeah, it's a really nice building in a great location at 649. So when I ran the numbers here, so this is my data entry form, and I'm going to show you the presentation. So at 649, 990, keep in mind, a lot of instances we can negotiate. So I'm just, being really conservative with this one. 20% down, legal fees at 1,500, inspection 650, contingency 69.90, and then property transfer tax 11,000, furnishing 7. So that's pretty much the same. So your total investment is 157,000. Keep in mind, guys, that and ladies and gents, that we can do things like joint ventures where it's a JV, where you would maybe team up with someone else, and you can have a working partner, you can have a capital partner, and you can work together on this kind of an investment. And to find those people, it would be at places like this. So you just get to know each other at these sorts of events, as well as in-person events, and see if it's something that you would want to get together if this seems like too much of a high investment. So yeah, I was conservative again with this one. So 59.50, 150 for parking. Mortgage, I did keep it the same at 5.45. That's on a 30-year. That's variable. Keep in mind, rates are going to fluctuate and then go down the next year or so. Taxes, that's taken straight directly from the listing itself. Insurance, utilities, and cable and internet. Condo fees on this one is 430, so it's right smack dab where we would expect it to be. Management, once again, 30%, so that comes to 1830. Vacancy, I put it 5% as well. Repairs at that 2% as well. So strict cash flow, this one's sitting at $92 a month, but when you add in for the reserve fund contribution as well, that comes out to $519 on that one. And this one, once again, I did keep that at 5% for the market growth. So your total ROI on this one is 163. So slightly less than the Genesis building, but in a fantastic location. It's right in Yale Town. So, we'll see where those appreciation values go. I put it at 5%, but as we know, Vancouver, historically speaking, it's going to be more than that. So we're right exactly. I said 645. So we are exactly where we need to be. Oh, actually, I was just going to quickly show you guys that corporate tenancy agreement / occupant. So this is just to kind of circle back to the difference between a tenant and then also the occupant. So, and this is taken directly from the tenancy agreement, so that you do need to have the written or oral, or it's expressed or implied, that you are a tenant respecting the possession. And it includes a license to occupy a rental unit. So what it does not apply for. So who did this not apply to? And in section 4, the act does not apply to. And when we scroll down to section E right here, it's living accommodation that occupied as a vacation or travel accommodation. So in this instance, if it's someone who's going to be living there because of travel accommodation, then they would be considered an occupant, not a tenant. The second one is going to be living accommodation provided for emergency shelter or transitional housing. So like I said before, if you have been displaced because of your because of insurance purposes, so there was a fire, there was a flood, whatever it is, and then you needed to transition somewhere, that's where you would be considered an occupant. So this is taken directly from the act itself, for those of you who wanted to have a little bit more information on that. And I can provide anything that we have discussed this evening to you. So next is we're going to do a little Q&A. So let me get back to We're going to call in Annie if Annie's in the house. Is Annie in the house? Annie is in the house. There we go.
Hi guys.
Hi.
You guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Annie's in the house here. And so she is an investor herself and has been investing in this type of strategy now for well over a year and has some examples. So I thought, why not invite her on here to share her experience, because it's all lovely for me to talk about this investment strategy, explain it all, educate, go through all of the numbers. But there's also something to be said for actually having someone who has been utilizing this strategy in the downtown Vancouver area for well over a year now, even during the thick of the pandemic. So I have a couple questions, Annie.
Sure.
And I think, one of the things that, just to kind of spiff off that is, yeah, it does sound, very lucrative, very amazing, awesome. But as we know, with any investment, you guys, it's not always going to be roses, right? So I want to ask you, Annie, like, what do you think would be like, someone who's maybe just starting out and wants to, thinking about investing in this, what do you think would be like the biggest hurdle or the biggest risk, or just something to consider that you would offer?
So for someone without experience, right, just getting into it, I would say really think it through to know how much your risk threshold is, right? So know your backup plan, right? Typically, you're looking at something that if it doesn't work out well, say you have an occupancy issue or there's a problem with the building and you have to be able to pay mortgage on your own without income, are you covered for a month or two, right? In that kind of situation, you want to make sure you have some sort of backup plan. But my experience with this so far, it's been very smooth. I've never had to activate my plan B, right? So it's been really good. But for me to make myself feel safe to get into this was that I calculated my risk and I understood how much risk I could bear and if I could afford to bear that risk.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think, well, especially Annie, because you are a financial analyst. So coming from someone who is, this is what she does for a living. So she
That's right.
weighs out risk and analyzes it and like make sure that the numbers are in check. So that is, that would make sense why this would be number one important. And for anybody getting into this kind of investment, that you understand not just the strategy, but the risks involved, run the numbers, and just make sure that you do your due diligence, right? Next question, Annie, is what did you find like the most appealing? Like why? Because there's tons of different strategies. We can talk about fix and flips. We can talk about BRRRR strategy. We can talk about short-term Airbnbs. We can talk about long-term. There are pre-sales. There's so many different investment strategies out there. So what was it about specifically midterm rentals, corporate rentals that really piqued your interest?
Yeah, so three things. It's cash flow positive, right? So that's the first attraction for me, that I don't have to fork out from my pay every month to make sure that I keep this investment around, right? Second thing is very flexible. So if I feel like if I ever need to sell this unit for whatever reason, that I need some money for another investment per se, I don't have to worry about kicking our tenants, right? And when the market goes up and down, my rents also goes up and down with it. Not good when it's COVID, it goes down, but for the past year, it's been going up and it's been great for me, right? And the last thing is, I had a lot of fun shopping for this. So buying this was easy and maintaining it is very easy. I am not hands-on at all. I don't know how to do any of the maintenance shit. If anything breaks, I don't know what to do. So this has been great that I kind of outsource it to someone else to take care of it for me.
Yeah, and that's one of the key features about this, is that really you don't need to worry. But I think you get financial statements as well that are sent to you.
Yes. on a monthly basis.
Okay, so you get monthly updates. You kind of know how it's performing. You can observe it, and I think even if you wanted to go in and, because I know a common question that I would get was if they wanted to go in and take over their property again, like I think you only need to provide like 90 days notice.
Yes, yes. And there's really no reason for me to take over because I can't manage it better myself, right? So the only reason that I would need to take this property back is if I need to put it onto the market to sell, which 90 days is plenty, very reasonable.
Yeah, 90 days. Yeah. So, I mean, if you wanted to sell it, because the common question that I get is like, oh, well, what if I wanted to go stay in it for a month or two, or I wanted to sell it or whatever. So it's good to know that you have that as an option as well.
Yes.
And last question before we get into our Q&A, which starts at 7, is going to be overall, how have you been finding the performance of your investment, and is this something that you would invest in again?
Yep, absolutely. Financial performance has been really good. The feeling of that I'm growing an investment, that I'm growing something for the future is very empowering, right? So I think I enjoy that empowering part more than the financial stability it brings me. And absolutely, once I have enough savings, I'm looking to buy another property, right? It's giving me something that I trust that I can grow over time. And it's a very great feeling.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Annie.
You're welcome.
Yeah, now we can kind of get into our Q&A. I did see some questions that were in the chat, but wanted to kind of give, if anybody has any questions for Annie or me, we'd love to hear them.
There's a question on what's the average occupancy rates per year. I would say it really depends on the location, right? If you have a property that is in a very ideal location, very good layout, that's easy to rent out, as soon as it becomes available, someone's going to snap it away. So for me, the occupancy rate has been over 90%, almost 100% for one of the units. So it's been great. Yeah,
and that's why I really emphasize that the location. And when I've been working with you, Annie, you've been great by taking my direction. So I'm like, I know that we could go out to the outskirt areas, but like, I really want to make sure that we have that occupancy rate where we want it to be and that it's rented out, because as soon as we have, we start not being able to have it rented out, all of a sudden you're bleeding and you're losing any of the capital that you could have made on a monthly basis.
Yeah, not every building or units is suitable for this business, right? Even in the same building, you could have a unit that's got very poor layout and the property manager wouldn't take your units because it's not ideal for her clients, right? So be very picky, very careful when you make the purchase decision. Once you make that good decision, then you just sail from there.
Yeah, exactly. Just hold on to it. I see another question there, just the difference between short-term and corporate rental. So as I kind of explained in the beginning, short-term is going to be anything that's less than 30 days, typically. And the corporate rental is a minimum 30-day model. So that's kind of what transitions it into something in between a short-term, something that's in between a long-term rental, which is usually a year. And in relation to the bylaws, yeah, it's crucial that you have a realtor that understands the bylaws, knows the building, and also updates with it, because that can change. As I had mentioned, okay, yeah, no worries, Tammy, it's all good. And I don't mind talking about this a little bit more into detail as well, because it's really important to understand the difference. And what makes this strategy so unique is that you also don't need to worry about a lot of the rules and regulations that they have with the Airbnbs and the short-term rentals with VRBO, because a lot of the buildings have gone away from that. But above and beyond the buildings itself, there are a lot of rules and restrictions and stipulations around being able to have a short-term rental, because it needs to be claimed as your primary residence. is the biggest thing in Vancouver anyways. If you go into the outskirts areas, obviously you don't have that same restriction. But number one, a lot of the buildings don't allow them anymore. And number two, it needs to be claimed, it needs to be your primary residence. So there's a lot of loopholes that you would need to go through. Whereas this, a 30-day rental, it's a lot cleaner, it's a real clean strategy that you don't need to go through loopholes. You're just like, I'm an investor, I am purchasing this as a corporate rental, and you just get people in. Okay, so about the outskirts, like I said, a lot of them that in my experience, can we go to the outskirts? Yes, and it really depends on whether the property managers will take it or not. So really, it's not up to me. Ball's not in my court. It would be in the property manager's court. The only thing that I would caution on is once we get into the outskirts areas, is that when we are looking at whether it be condos, even single family homes works for this as well, is that we're going to be looking at 2 bedrooms. 1 bedrooms aren't going to perform as well in outskirt areas because in most instances, we're going to be catering to families at that point. Does that make sense? And also, if you guys wanted to put your cameras on and ask me too, so that we can get some more engagement.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Peter.
How's it going? How's dancing?
Good. Dancing's good.
Okay,
Yeah. How are you?
Right on. I'm good. I mean, I'm currently in Taipei. It's 10 a.m. in the morning right now. But yeah, like I'm currently right now in Taipei, and my situation is I got a property in Burnaby, a metropolitan area. I'm wondering, in terms of Burnaby area, how would you go about finding more property to rent out? Because in the next 15 years, with the Metrotown area, they are turning Metrotown into 5 street and high rise with low retail. So I'm trying to capitalize on that. They're doing phase 1 building already there.
Mm-hmm.
The rental rate that you were throwing out there with 5,000, 6,000, 6,000 to 8,000, those are typically double the rental rate. So what you're telling me is, if you're doubling the rate, you are paying the property manager half of that rate, and you're banking on 3,000. I still trying to figure out the math in that, because the renter is paying literally double.
Yeah, so I did go through the pro forma. Here, I'll just share my screen really quickly so you can see the numbers. So
Yeah.
we'll get back into that. I'll just take the one that's on how. So the property, but that's a great question, Peter. So when I'm going through at the end here, when we're looking at the condo fees and the management. So right here, you can see my screen, right? Can you
Yes,
see my
yes,
screen? Okay.
yes.
So this is what the management fee is. It is 30%. That's what she takes. And in a lot of instances for this specific kind of strategy, a lot of the other companies that are out there that are doing this specific strategy are about 40%. So we have negotiated a special discount down to 30%. So yes, the rents are, I would say, more than double right now at, for example, 3,000 is what we're seeing for a 1-bedroom downtown. And the average rental price for a 1-bedroom downtown, given the recent influx that is around 2,500. So it's more than double.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I've been out of it for like a year, so I have no idea what the price currently is, post-COVID price. I have no clue. So
Yes.
That's why it's significantly more.
Yeah, it's literally gone up. I think about 30%, if I'm not mistaken, within this last half a year. So once the interest rates started going up, it kicked out a lot of people who were going to be entry-level buyers back into the rental market. So the rental market now, it's quite scarce, and it increased the rental prices as a result.
Right. Okay.
Good for investors.
Awesome.
Property prices going down, rental prices going up. let's get some deals. So
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait, man. Like I've been sitting on cash for 15 years ready to pounce, and I can't see a better opportunity right now. I say wait till the first quarter of 2023 and then really pounce on it, because I'm looking at the housing market chart and all the stock market chart,
Mhm.
and everything tells me right now the interest rate will still go higher. But if you have cash and can buy a cash, this is when you pounce, and it's coming. The sales is just starting.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, so
it's
that's
super
what I'm
exciting.
saying.
And that's why I'm really going hard with my, like I was just on a panelist in Victoria the other weekend and talking about corporate rentals and talking about the strategy, because it's time to get prepared right now to pounce. What Peter said.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we're
I
all
can-
just sitting here salivating, but there are deals right now that are happening, because there is also another school of thought. Obviously, nobody has a crystal ball. And if we're trying to time the market, 9 times out of 10, we're already, when we're trying to time the market to see when the lowest is already come and it's in the rearview mirror. So, like I said, go with the information that you have on hand. The information that we have on hand right now is that there's a lot on the market. There is also ability to negotiate down and get some really good deals out there right now, right? So whether
Big time, big time.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, those are the numbers there. Do we have
Cool.
any other questions, y'all? Julia, I see that you had a question on the pro forma unit A and B. Okay, so sorry, the unit B was just the parking. So the way that we have our pro forma analyzers are for if I have property that I'm evaluating, that like a lot of my properties, I have basement suites, or you know, if I have a duplex with 2 suites in the basement, that's 4 doors, right? So we'll do unit A, B, C, D, and then put the amount. So we just have the same pro forma, but for multiple evaluations. In this instance, it's just the 1 unit, because this is just a 1 door, but we also put the parking stall. So I put the parking stall as another unit price to have it separated. So that's $150 a month that you can rent it out for just the parking stall itself. Does that make sense? So I guess the next question, Anna says, for the 5,000 to 6,000 on a 1 bedroom is high. How can a company pay that? Well, a lot of companies have owners. Well, one company in particular, and that owner is Jeff Bezos. I think he can afford it. What a corporation is. I'm being a little sassy, but what was I going to say? The corporations, they're looking to partner with a company that has standards and they know what they're going to be getting. So unlike Airbnbs or hotels where they need to shop around, they have consistency. And with this model, consistency is key. And the corporations and the companies have aligned themselves with specific property managers who will perform at a certain level, and they know what they're going to get. So they're willing to pay that extra dime in order to make it work for their clientele. Because a lot of instances, these are going to be executives for major corporations. So they want to make sure that what they're getting is going. Yes, exactly. It's more of an elite market. So you do have a certain echelon of clientele that's going to be in there as well. So was there another question? I see Julia asked, or you're answering a question. Okay, thanks, Peggy, for coming. Bye. Yeah, so there's a lot of the upfront costs that we kind of went through in the beginning, which talk about getting it furnished, making sure that you have that reserve fund in there, making sure that you have it like done up nicely. But you don't even necessarily need to be here. I mean, I think for your last one, Annie, you weren't even in the country. Like, so I went in there and got the keys cut, got the fobs, talked with the property manager, got it all set up. Like, what was it hard for you? Did you find it like there was a lot to do?
No, but you have to make decision. That was hard. That was it. But I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, so we did all the legwork for Annie there, between Wendy, she's the property manager owner of the property manager that we work with, and me. So we were able to set everything up, get it all kind of tickety boo for Annie. So when she came back, it was funny because I think it was like half a year later, you're like, I haven't actually even seen the property. And so
Yeah,
we went
because
there
it
one night.
performs so well. It's always occupied. I couldn't go in. So
She didn't even get to see it. She's like, I wonder what it looks like. Cause I went and took photos for her before it started renting out, because it just rented out within the first week. So I went in there and took some video and I said, oh, this is what it looks like, but you don't even need to be here. And the first time that she actually saw it was like half a year later. It was this last summer. We went in there to just
yeah.
go chill out and have a look at it. And it was kind of funny. You're like, oh, this is what it looks like. That's cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Meanwhile, you just get the money in your bank.
Yeah.
So the best way to start is to find a property manager and show them the unit to furnish the place. Okay, so if you already, so Anna, to answer your question, if you already have a unit, is that what you're asking? Or to purchase a unit? Okay, so if you already have, yeah, I would reach out I can do an intro. So what I'll do is get your information, and then I can do the intro to you as well. I can send you a complimentary video. We did a video interview with the property manager just actually a few weeks ago. We just got it released last week. So it's really exciting because it is with the property manager herself, with Wendy. And yeah, let me do the intro because then I can get you that discount. So I'll just get your information if you wanted to private DM me, and I'll do that for you, no worries. And also send you the video. So it has a lot of the investor related common questions that we've had over the years, and have her on the video answering all of these key questions. And actually Sim, who's on the video, was in there too. So we had a lot of fun in one of the executive rentals, asking her all of these questions, and I can definitely send you guys that video as well. I'm also going to mention that I have Calendly, and for anyone who's on the chat today, I am offering a free 30-minute consultation. So if you want to either get set up with a search for me to delve a little bit more in detail on this strategy and kind of get things set up. I'm not saying that you'd have to jump on it like right now. If you are ready, I have deals. I just showed you a couple live ones right now that are cash flow positive. But whether you're at that stage where you're ready to, as Peter says, pounce, or if you are in the planning and preparation period, I do have a planning agenda for this specific strategy, and I am providing a 30-minute consult for that. So I just put my Calendly link in the group chat. So feel free to click on that and book a time with me, and we can start setting you up for success in this strategy. What property management companies do this? Also, sorry, I'm just asking another question here from Janice. Do this? What property management companies do this? Also, since they are the tenant, do they actually pay the rent, or just pay you the rent they receive from the corporate? Yeah. So first, there are quite a few property management companies that do this, that have this model, and I think in our 30-minute consult, I will go more into detail about all of them. The reason why we've aligned ourselves with Wendy from Live in Local is that she's really the best in town. I mean, she she has the top corporations. I think she just signed with Facebook as well. So she has Amazon, she has Microsoft, she has a lot of the key players that your investment is going to be secured by her. In addition to that, we've also secured a special discount. So it's a win-win scenario. So that's why we use her. Are there others that we can examine and explore? Yeah, I just went for lunch with another property manager. She's going to be slightly higher. So the cash flow is not going to be as positive currently, but there are other options. There's also other buildings, which I might mention that's pretty cool. They have their own internal system that does the corporate rentals as well. So in our 30-minute consult, I can kind of go a little bit more into detail about that as well. And then the 30%, yeah, so it fluctuates. They're not going to be paying you a flat fee. I put the numbers in there based on what the numbers have been performing at in recent months and currently right now, because that's what we can go off of what is performing right now. In addition to that, as Annie has been able to capitalize on, once rents go up, you get more money. So you get more cash flow every single month as the rents go up as well, because it is that 30%. Perfect. Does anybody have any other questions? I could talk corporate rentals and investing for days. It's actually what Annie and I talk about. Half of our conversation is like on different investing strategies in real estate. So if you have any other questions, I would be happy to answer. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. And like I said, I did have that Calendly link in the chat. Please book a meeting if you want to get set up on a search. I have access to all of the best buildings in town that actually, yeah, the recording will be available as well. And also, like I said, if you wanted to set up a quick meeting with me, I have my Calendly link in there. But yeah, so I have access to all of the best performing tried and true buildings in Vancouver as well. If you wanted to learn kind of how to analyze any other ones as well, I can help you with that. So yeah, you're welcome, you guys. It was my pleasure to do this. I had a lot of interest, and I'm so glad that I was able to get some time with all of you to go through this strategy. And I look forward to hopefully doing some business with you guys in the future. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Bye. And yeah, I will have this recorded and I can send it out as well. Bye. Bye, Frank.